You're listening to We Do Recover, the podcast that proves recovery is possible and connection is powerful. In this episode, Jordan Burningham shares his journey from addiction to recovery, detailing the struggles he faced and the pivotal moments that led him to seek help. He discusses the importance of community, purpose, and healthy habits in maintaining recovery. Jordan emphasizes the need for supportive environments and the role of meaningful connections in overcoming addiction. He also highlights his miracles of recovery, including the joy of family and the fulfillment of helping others. Let's jump into today's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 175. Today I'm joined by the Burning Man, Jordan Burningham. He has become a staple in these podcasts. Happy to have you here, bro. How was the drive?
You know, it's a drive. I told myself a year ago driving the Tesla down, I wouldn't do it again because of the charging and extra time, but I did it, whatever. Here we are. This is the first late night podcast you've had.
I know. It's, like usually I'm ready for bed at this time, hence the, kind of PJ look I got going on.
You're going to roll right into
sweats.
bed after this. 15 minutes post podcast.
I am. Brush the teeth, take off the hat. I'm in bed, baby. So let's get rock and rolling here. Have you heard of a little place called Diamond Detox?
I have. Really great people, great team, compassionate staff, really there to help people.
Absolutely well said. And everybody's journey in this whole recovery thing has got to start with hopefully a safe medical detox. So if you or a loved one needs a safe, professional detox, reach out to Diamond Detox. You can contact them at 385-988-5332 or check out the website. That's going to be diamonddetox.com. Highly, highly recommended. Let's also give a shout out to Wasatch Crest. Wasatch Crest is a leading provider of substance abuse and mental health. They have separate men's and women's residential facilities. The men's is in Heber, the women's is in Park City. They offer a full continuum of care. Great program. You can get a hold of them by calling them at 385-644-500. You can check out their website at wasatchcresttreatment.com if you want to learn a little bit more.
I'll just say really quick, because I love Wasatch Crest.
Yeah, man.
I dare say find a better program. There's some great programs that are equal to, but they're as good as anybody doing great work with all levels of care.
I appreciate you saying this. And I talked about this last week with Troy in episode 174. If Diamond Detox and Wasatch Crest weren't excellent programs, I wouldn't promote them on the podcast, right? We wouldn't promote them as a resource on the podcast. Both facilities are near and dear to my heart. I think
you're
both
client-centered, patient-centered, and they both are.
Thank you. I feel like I am as client-centered as they come. Yeah. So both highly recommended. If you're needing some good resources, check out those agencies. Dude, it's the Holy War weekend.
I know. That's why I'm here now and not tomorrow. You're going to the game, which I was like, yeah, we can cancel or we can go a day early and I'll just drive down and drive back same day. It's fine.
Yeah. Dr. Sellers came through, man. He came through with a ticket for me. A couple of years ago, me and Mandy went up there and we went, it wasn't BYU versus Utah, but we went to a BYU game. No, yeah, maybe it was BYU versus, it was when they lost. So 3 years ago, they played them at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Anyways, I'm just excited. Love you, Doc. Thanks for, hooking up the ticket. I'm ready to paint half my face red, like some Braveheart
Not
stuff.
only is that going to be a great game, but with you and Sellers, because you're a Utah guy, right? And he's a
through and
BYU
through.
guy for sure. So,
Through and through.
And you guys are good friends, so it makes for a great time.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. This guy rolls to the game with flags out his back windows. I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to put it on if you're listening to this, check out our Facebook page. I'm going to throw the pictures of Dr. Sellers in his BYU
Get up. He's always got a get up of some kind.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for it. How are you, man? How's life?
Good. So many good things. I'm so grateful for so many things. There's so much, our family's healthy, happy. We got roofs over our head. We got food. We got water. We got heat. The bare essentials and really the whole pyramid of the hierarchy that we need to be happy, healthy humans. I feel like my family has it. And as long as my family has that, I'm happy.
#blessed.
#blessed.
Good, man.
Yeah,
You deserve it.
We still are paycheck to paycheck. We're not living it crazy, lush life, but I'm so grateful for what we have, for sure.
Yeah, that's good, man. Anytime you can get out and play some golf Monday through Friday, you got a pretty good life. Anybody can play on the weekends, but that Monday through Friday, it's a good time.
Anybody that knows me knows that's my office. 4 days a week. If you want to find me, that's where you meet.
Shout out to, what's your home course?
Valley View
Golf Course. Okay, so Jordan Burningham he's here, and I've asked him to come on and do a little bit different of an episode than he's been a part of in the past. So Jordan's been like a staple in the podcast. I mean, I consider you like a co-host, right? Topic-based stuff. A few, like 6 months back, this thing was kind of dwindling. I feel like you came on, breathed some life back into it. So I want to share, we took kind of some time off. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I want to get to your story, like a true you telling your story. When it was me, you, Terry, and come on,
Big T.
Big T. I can never, yeah.
That was a fun one.
I should have just said Big T because I know him as Big T. I listened to it and you didn't quite share your story. So I want to get to like let me interview
Big T's on
you.
there. I'm focused on Big T.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But after that, it was a whole lot of like coming out with the book, and we just kind of talked about different cool stuff that was coming up for you. So I appreciate you letting me interview you today. We're going to get to that though. I did want to share, after kind of taking some time off and jumping around studios before I built one in Mi Casa that we're sitting here in, right?
Beautiful.
What do you think?
It's comfortable. It's nice. And I love it for you that like you don't have to bounce around and rely on other people. You get to do your own thing, your own schedule, your own time frame, invite your people in. I love it. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, man. Me too. It's been cool. And I feel like I'm just more relaxed in this space. There's not like crazy music and the countdown timer or like stranger, like it's just, it's comfy, cozy. So we took some time off. In the last month, we've put out 3 episodes, over 1,000 downloads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I gotta
better than ever doing your own thing.
Dude, it like after taking some time off, that first one blew up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like 662 in 12 hours. So
people were like craving it, they were fiending.
I hope so, man. I hope people are out there and they enjoy this. I feel like we spread not only a message of hope, but information and education, right?
Resources.
Let me give you a breakdown on some numbers. I'm going to geek out real quick just because I got the analytics right here in front of me. Keep in mind, this is the past 30 days. Brazil is out downloading the United States. What's going on, America? What's going on?
Are you talking about for your podcast or in general?
For my podcast, they downloaded. Oh yeah, in general, life's
what are
just
people
crazy.
doing in Brazil listening to your podcast?
They're listening to my podcast, baby. Shout out. Coming in 3rd place, so it goes Brazil, United States, India, Russia, Vietnam, Mexico. Yeah, so internationally, we got some downloads, which is really cool. Then if I click on this little dot right here, we're going to break it down into the good old US.
Don't lose people on the analytics here. We just 78 people just clicked off.
I thought you were going to say 22, but you had to go higher than 22.
No,
just real fast. I do want to give a shout out to some of these. Some Utah, of course, that's a given. We're in Utah. California, thank you. Thank you for showing us some love, man. A lot of downloads from California, Idaho, Georgia. If you had told me Georgia coming in 4th would have been there, that would have surprised me. Connecticut, Oregon, Florida. Beautiful, dude. Up in Canada, Ontario. We got some Ontario listeners. Thank you up in Canada for listening. We even out in Australia, Queensland. Shout out to Queensland, baby. Keep spreading the word, man. Go talk to your friends. Have them listen to the podcast. And then the other one that surprised me was Germany. Kind of cool, man. Kind of cool. All right. I can tell you're over the analytics. I just want to give some shout out. And if you're listening to this and you got some friends in recovery and they want to listen to, a good little podcast, recommend. Let's keep growing, baby. Let's keep growing. Okay. So here we are.
Closing the laptop.
Closing the analytics are over. That's right, dude. That's right. So very simple format. How it was before, what happened, what's life like now? So I'm going to hit you with the first question.
The team at Diamond Detox is compassionate, helpful, and trained to support every step of the healing journey. Your loved one's path to a healthier, happier life starts with a free and easy 20 to 30-minute assessment over the phone or a few questions submitted online on the Diamond Detox website. Assessments and admissions occur 7 days a week, depending on availability. To begin the path to recovery, visit DiamondDetox.com or call 385-988-5332.
What was life like growing up before addiction?
I feel like I had a pretty good life. It was my parents, bless my dad's heart, most selfless, hardworking man I know, just retired. Let me tell a quick tangent. just last week, my mom texted me that he was up at his friend's Wally and one other guy's house watching the BYU game.
What's a Wally?
That's his name. I don't want
Wally's
to say
the
his
guy.
last name, but he's a great guy.
All right.
And it was like my dad in the last 50 years that I've, known of him, like he's just worked and provided and not had like his own time. So to hear he got to go spend time with friends because he just retired like a month ago, so cool. Good for him. I don't know anyone who deserves that better than him. So anyways, he did his best, had 7 kids on a truck driver's salary. So, bless his heart, and my parents and my mom, she had a big passion for education and books and reading, and showed going back to school to get her degree after she was 40. And, really just said, well, there's a will, there's a way, and, obstacles get out of the way when you really want something. And that really taught me a lot as well.
Hardworking data.
Yep.
Education focused mom. Where'd you grow up?
Bountiful, Utah, and, had a great family. And, over the years, I've got to study a lot about what causes addiction, the root causes. And I found about 11. It's complex, but for me, I wasn't really taught well how to regulate or express my emotions and feelings. A lot of men don't get taught that. I lost a passion that I thought was my identity in high school, basketball, and then tore my knee when I had some scholarships lined up. And that was kind of my plan. I traveled around the US playing basketball from about age 10 to 16, all around. Loved that.
So
And
huge part of your identity.
huge. And so when that comes crumbling down, it was tough. And when I got prescribed the painkillers, the opioids, it really became that physical pain reliever, but an emotional pain reliever, right? Because I was so disappointed.
I have a feeling you're starting to tap into the next question here as we're
Not
going.
yet.
Okay.
Just setting the stage.
So, but it sounds like you can identify that you had a couple maybe precursors, but for the most part, hardworking dad,
good
loving
family,
mom, good
loving
family. Bountiful, Utah it's not like a place that you think of. It's not like the ghetto. It's very nice.
Yeah. And without nerding out too much, I got these glasses, bought them for $5 on the way down here because I wanted to like put them on and, show my nerd side because I'm super nerdy and people don't always know that. But I didn't because I was scared. The science of addiction is so cool. And, I have some of the genetic precursors as well. I took a genetic test and I want to really push that. And that's kind of the future in the end of the story, because DNA testing can really show us what neurotransmitters are out of balance, what behaviors and addictions are we predisposed to. And that was huge to figure that out. I mean, it was after I was through treatment when I figured that out. But, I had that going on. So and then you get exposure, the social component to it, right? So you have the loaded gun, they call it. You have some predisposition, hanging out with certain people, and you start, experimenting. And I remember one of the biggest things that I forget to tell people is sometimes friends aren't very good, right? And I remember my senior year, I had some older kids talk me into smoking some opium, thinking they're just like, oh, it's just a plant.
Really? It's like some old school stuff.
Well, I mean, it's heroin.
Right. But I mean, smoking opium, like
that's just what they called it to make me feel better about it.
Oh,
it's a bad friend.
Okay.
Right.
But it was heroin.
Yeah. So, and I didn't figure that out till a year later. And then that did play a role in down the road when I kind of had to make that decision when I couldn't afford Oxycontin anymore and I had to survive and function. It was like so much cheaper. And I've already done it before.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's a little bit of the
tricksters, dude.
Tricksters.
Golly.
I had friends.
I thought you were going to tell a story about you went to Chinatown and there was like, because the Chinamen would smoke opium. I think they still do, right? It's very not
part of my story, but
okay. Yeah. I thought this was going to go a whole different direction, bro. Okay. So that rolls right into my next question. When did experimental turn into dependency, basically?
Yep. And it's so important that people know the difference between dependency and addiction. Most people get dependent on an addictive substance within 5 to 7 days of using it. Sometimes it takes 30, but most people get dependent where they're going to feel some negative withdrawal symptom after they stop. So for me, mine wasn't until the surgery. So I was 17 and I felt some of that withdrawal, but I still had enough going on and didn't know enough in my brain to look for the withdrawal symptoms.
So you were prescribed, because of a surgery, you were prescribed pain meds.
And then made it out of it without really being addicted, but still then for the next 6 to 12 months, I remember I had a party house and I was like 17, 18, had more money than I should have, helped. I had a landscaping business for like 7 years, 5 years at that point. And we started to get bigger. And so we had money and a house and, we had parties there all the time. And so I hired about 9 of my friends for this landscaping business I had. And when we'd have parties fairly often, they weren't waking up for work because they were hungover. And so
Imagine that.
I remember having to wake up and thinking, well, I got to get the work done. I don't have the option. And so I'd have to do a little bit more of the pain medicine to cope with that and get through it. And I was so numbed out. I remember just my shins just bleeding because of the rocks from trimming and because I wouldn't feel it. I'll never forget my oldest brother, because he kind of helped me get into that type of work and was really supportive through that and sold me some of the business. And he's like, your body's supposed to feel that pain.
Yeah.
Pain's there for a reason. And it hadn't even occurred to me really that was a good thing for me to feel, because I was like, block the pain. I don't want to feel that.
Right.
But then obviously the next day, what your body does is it creates more pain neurons. When you have that drug cover those pain neurons, it just makes more.
Right.
It adapts. Your body's adapting to everything you do.
Because part of the process is acknowledging and feeling that pain. So when it can't, then it's like, what's going on here?
This is not good for you.
Let's create more.
So what happens is then you double your pain receptors, and then the next day, what do you feel? Double the pain. Right. So what do? Double your dose, right? It makes complete sense when you look at the science of it. So that continues for a while, and got to the point where I was doing quite a bit during the landscaping season, but then winter comes, the money slows down, and that's where I got in trouble. And you're sitting there with a few buddies, and they're doing heroin, and they're like, hey, look how much you're wasting and how much money you're wasting. This is the same thing. It's just one's synthetic and one's not. And so your brain starts to logic with it, like it's valid.
I fell for the same thing.
Right. And so it's just the stair stepper up to the, worse of the worse. And, I was thinking on the way down here, this is funny. Not really, but I thought about it on the way down here. Okay. So your supplements, which you didn't, we didn't plug your Rise Up Sups.
Yeah.
They're legit and you've done a great job with it. So I have the blue and the red, a little bit of an upper and a downer, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Natural way to do it though, with healthy stuff. But
nootropics.
Yeah. And on the way down here, I just like, I'm going to pop one blue, one red. I'm not really looking to get anxiety relief or relax. And I'm not really looking to get too amped. I'm good. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such an addict behavior. Because when I was at my worst, and most of the time I was like using a downer or an upper first, and then a downer to get back to equilibrium. No matter what I was doing, I was trying to get back to equilibrium. Like, how much money did you waste and like damage to your body to just get back to normal?
Because you didn't want to be too hyped, but you didn't want to be zonking out either.
Exactly.
Got ya.
Yeah. And so it's an interesting dynamic where it's really about, sometimes it's a control thing. Control the way I feel, That's what I found anyways.
I like that perspective. Like, it's cool that you can see that. And you know what I love the most about that story? You thought, I'm coming down for a podcast. I'm going to do some nootropics so I'm feeling sharp and ready to rock and roll, right?
Relaxed but alert.
Yeah, dude. I remember the first time I ever took a nootropic, and it literally was life-changing for me, because I like to feel sharp. I like to feel on point. So anything, and look at us, right? We both work out. Anything that can help supplement the body to get a little bit of an advantage, well, that's what nootropics are for the brain. This is a really good time to mention. If you are interested in nootropics, check out Rise Up Sups. That's RISEUPS, ups.com. The formulas that Jordan's talking about, the red one is called Mind Shift. It helps speed up the neurotransmitters of the brain. The blue one is called Mindful Mood. It helps slow down the neurotransmitters of the brain. Both of them are 100% natural. They're not going to make you test dirty. Like, they're not habit forming. Like you said, you don't have to take them every day. If you have a big project coming up and you're wanting to really focus and hunker down and get after it, take a couple of if you're like wanting to really just kind of chill and you've got work on the brain, you feel like you're going 100 miles an hour and you're like, I need some breaks.
Yeah.
Let's get back to that. Around 17, you have the surgery, right?
18, the party house.
18, the party house. What is and I don't want to spend too much time on this, right? But I think it's important. What did active addiction look like?
Yeah. So then 19 is when it went from dependency, where I could feel that I was not going to be able to function well without it, to when then 19, 20, I start, the addiction cycle, where it's loss of control, compulsive use despite consequences, because those are big indicators, right? Starting to do things like stealing gas to get out to get my drug, things like that it started to be where I really hurt my integrity, and I'm still to this day trying to make up for anything I did wrong for the karmatic part of life, and karma is the most real thing I think there is. But the point being is it turned into an addiction once I couldn't stop, and I had no control over being able to do it, feeling like I was going to die, and then using despite negative consequences and bad behavior. So about 20 years old, and because again, I had a decent family, great family, good upbringing, and had a decent head on my shoulders. So I knew like what I was doing wasn't great, but I was trying to function and figure out how to handle life and make ends meet and have a roof over my head and have food as an adult. But I wanted to get some help. Trying to think of when I remember I lived up at my grandma's with Yitchy. Yitchy, hope you listen to this. Richie Wilson. We were trying to survive, and I remember parking at my grandma's house and it was the first time. It happened maybe 3 times over my addiction, where I'd shoot up and I would pass out and I'd wake up gasping for a breath and thinking,
Wow.
Nikes, like that could have been it, right? If my body didn't rebound and force me into that breath, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, I wouldn't be here.
That tells me you were just on like the borderline of a complete overdose. Like,
yeah. I mean, it was an overdose. I dosed myself over what I should have.
For sure.
But I came out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. But also, to kind of slow things down and point out, you went from doing Oxycontin, which you were prescribed, to probably purchasing the Oxycontin because you said it eventually became expensive, to smoking heroin, to progressively now you're shooting up heroin.
Yeah. Because when you're smoking it, again, you have somebody say like, oh, look how much smoke and how much you're losing in the air.
Right.
They're like, yeah, it's more efficient to do.
Well, and to be fair, the people that you're surrounding yourself with that are making all those observations have about the same frontal cortex capacity you do.
As a 14-year-old.
Right? Like, you're not thinking straight. Like, how about we just don't do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you shared that story where you're almost OD.
And so that was the first time I realized, like, I need help, and I remember.
So you never got, like, possession tickets, or you never got any
Trying to think of
legal
I think
trouble?
I got, like when I was 18, 17 maybe. I think I was lucky because I was 17. Got pulled over with alcohol or something, and so they gave us, like, a possession of alcohol or something, but nothing too bad. Lucky but unlucky, because when you have those consequences really hit you, it kind of can change the trajectory. But I didn't have those really bad consequences at that point, so I thought I was somewhat invincible, I guess. It was one of those things where your parents really can love you to death. Bless my mom's heart and my family. They wanted to shelter me from different consequences. They bail you out sometimes when they maybe shouldn't, because they love you so much.
Totally.
They don't want to see you go through a lot of pain. And that's a big shout out to families that may be listening too, right? Like,
absolutely.
A lot of people I noticed through the treatment experience I've had with running facilities is dads, parents, whatever, they see their child, they're like, well, as long as they're at my house, I can make sure they're safe. And if they're using, at least they're here, not using somewhere where they're going to die or not have a roof over their head. But really, you're just enabling and making their use more comfortable. So they could die in your basement versus out on the streets, but you're making it so it's easier for them to use. And it's so hard to get them to see that. You know what I mean?
For sure. I also think that a big part of like being a parent is protecting your kids, and you don't realize that
you can love
you're
them to death.
making it worse.
You can literally love them to death.
Yeah.
Which is a hard concept to accept.
Yeah, that's tough.
So anyways, where was I?
So you had this overdose, right?
And I realized something was wrong. So I reached out for help. I remember calling my brother, shout out to Clint, one of the best humans I know, and just went on a drive with him. And I told him, and I just remember because a lot of my family, they're so caring, so loving, and he just listened. He's one of the best listeners. If anybody knows him, I don't know anybody who doesn't like him that actually knows him. And you could just tell he was so shell shocked. None of them had any idea that I was doing that level of stuff and using. Took me for a drive, and I think it's like Emmy Rossum's "Slow Me Down" song. He just like was just in tune. He's a very intuitive person, and he just puts that song on. And man, if anyone hasn't listened to it, if you have a good stereo system and put that on when you're like really just like life's just too chaotic and stressful, put that on. Man, it is a powerful song. And he just put that song on. We just went for a drive, and I remember tearing up, and he teared up, and it was like, don't let your life pass you by. And all the different verses in that song were just really hitting me. So I committed to seek treatment at that time without him even really asking me. He just was intuitive. He knew what I needed to hear and, be there for me. And so I committed, and of course did the whole, I went to a counselor that I've seen, an outpatient counselor with some Suboxone and stuff. And those who know me know I'm not a huge fan of Suboxone. There's a harm reduction part of it. There's a place for it. But I think nowadays, Sublocade and other long-lasting ones are the way to go if you're going to go that route. But you got to use it to get to that point. Anyway, so I was doing that, and when I couldn't get my drug, I'd use Suboxone. When I got sick of using Suboxone, I'd use the drug, back and forth, which I know a lot of people do. And then,
so this is before treatment. Okay.
Yeah.
So to some degree, you were kind of seeking a little bit of help, or at least trying to not be sick.
Yeah, this is about 21 years old.
Got you.
And I remember my counselor, my family did a full-on intervention, right? Like you see on TV, and where they all come to my counseling.
Did they write letters and everything?
They all write letters.
Okay.
Take each a turn to talk to me. And I remember pulling up to my counseling appointment, seeing like all of my family members' cars. And I was like, oh, shoot.
It's going down.
I knew it. So I just, oh man, I feel bad when I think of family watches, but yeah, I just slammed some more just to numb out a little bit more before I went in for that appointment, because that was going to be a tough one emotionally. And they did their thing, and my counselor was just like, do you not realize they're all crying? They all are feeling so deeply, and you're numb, and I'm just.
So you were pretty apathetic, like it didn't phase you.
Yeah, for the most part, on the outside at least, right? My representative was up pretty hard. But I do remember one of my siblings saying that, like, you can't be around the nieces and nephews anymore. It's too dangerous. I'm like, I'm not a dangerous person. But hindsight, I'm like, for sure they should do that.
Well, and that was their way of establishing boundaries, right?
Yeah. And like people should, like people that are using hard illicit drugs are impulsive and they're unpredictable, and it's wise to do so. So, but it hurt. I remember that cutting me pretty deep. Like, is it really that bad? And so that cut deep enough to get me to be willing to seek, actually go to residential at that point. But the therapist, clinician was like, we suggest you go today. The more time between your decision to go and going, the worse, right? That's when overdoses happen.
Yep.
But I was stubborn, and I was like, I'll go Monday in 3 days, mentally prepare for this. And just for every reason that you should go to treatment, then I did. My addict brain.
So you basically just bought yourself 3 days to run amok and yeah.
And my brain, my really smart addict brain that has no logic or reasoning, thought that if I robbed my drug dealer, that would break that connection, so I wouldn't be able to use after treatment. It made sense in my head at the time.
And I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you, right? These ideas that we come up with when...
So I constructed this plan.
Mind-blowing.
I constructed this plan to have one of my buddies rob both of us.
It didn't dawn on you that that's also a good way of getting shot.
Yeah. None of that came. I was like, oh, we get a big grip of drugs before I go in. That was really probably the goal. So I had my buddy, drug buddy, not really a friend, stage where I went to go buy from our dealer, and he came and robbed us at gunpoint.
Okay.
And the guy took off, and we made away with 90 balloons, and I came away with 45 black and 15 white, and did that all in 60 hours.
You're lucky you're not dead.
Just slamming back and forth, 8-balling back and forth, and super lucky that I survived that for sure. So went into treatment, and I told the story quite a few times over the years, but it just sticks out so much when I think about treatment itself. In Cold Creek, owner Tyler Dallas and I are still very close friends, a mentor of mine, and I appreciate the program and my family's support to get in there. But I remember the doctors, they don't know. They listen to the books and the standards of treatment. But they were trying to give me 24 milligrams of Suboxone, and I was like, my brain can only handle like 8, maybe 12. Everything else is excess.
Because you did have some experience with that.
Yeah.
But also, you just got done doing. I mean, you said 40-something
Sure.
balloons.
So they're thinking they need to give
days.
more. Sure, right. But nothing more than 8 or 12 made me feel any different, kind of made me nauseous. And so the only way I could not take it was to cheek it. And so I had a buddy in the treatment center say, hey, man, I'm hurting so bad coming off. Can you get me some? So I gave him a little bit to make him feel better. And he outed me in group.
Good for him.
That next day, I guess. Honesty's great, but I mean, that one, I don't know, man. But whatever. It was probably what I needed.
I bet it led to some good conversations.
We're still friends.
But therapeutically, they didn't use it as like...
Oh, they for sure did.
Yeah.
But the problem was they cut me off. So I was been using 12-ish milligrams, and it went to 0. And I needed that, I guess, because if it was easier than it was, I'd maybe consider doing it again, but never. I was so miserable. Seizure, which you don't get from opioids very often. But I definitely had a seizure. People around, I remember I hit the floor. And I woke up like shaking and stuff, and the tech was just this little older lady, and she was so scared. Anyways, I didn't sleep for about 4 days, didn't eat for about 3 days, pretty miserable. But I remember talking to the chef, and she was a great chef, and she would talk about the tryptophan and the turkey and how that can help you sleep, right? And the different things and amino acids in some of the foods that she was making that help build our brain back up after addiction. And I remember that light bulb coming on, and at the right time for me, because I was coming out of the cloud a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to help people do this. And that was the first time I thought, I want to research this more. And so I started to. From that day forward, I started developing a treatment program from that day forward.
The cool thing about that is that it gave you kind of a purpose or an idea of something in your future. A lot of times when I'll speak for myself, when I was in treatment, it wasn't like I was just trying to figure out how to stay clean that day without losing my mind and how to put my life back together. And for you, like it dawned on you, like, I want to look more into this. I want
to
take
optimize
this.
that. I don't want to just like grin and bear it.
So that's cool that like it gave you purpose right then and there.
Hi, my name's Jim Huffman. I'm the founder and CEO of Wasatch Crest Treatment Services. We're located in Heber City, Utah, amongst the beautiful Wasatch Mountains. We offer a full continuum of care, and what that means is that, we can support our clients and their families from day one all the way through their entire recovery journey. Our goal here at Wasatch Crest is for this to be your last time in treatment and the beginning of a life in recovery that will bring you joy and fulfillment and a sense of healing to you and your family and to those who love you.
To learn more about Wasatch Crest, call me, Jared, directly at 385-644-1500 and check out the website at wasatchcresttreatment.com.
What I started to develop early on at that point and what Diamond Tree turned into was, if you have a healthy, balanced lifestyle, you can create the passion for life again because you have the energy for it. And that's what energizes the diamond. And then the diamond up to the tree was the path towards purpose. And once you had the passion and the lifestyle, then you could pursue a purpose.
Find a purpose.
And I did. I found a purpose to help other people and get out of it and create that. And it was a beautiful thing. And I remember going to school at the U to get my...
How long, let me slow you down.
Yeah.
How long were you in Cold Creek for?
2 days.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think
That's a good amount of time.
40 days is scientifically pretty proven to be able to change habits and behaviors.
Did you do any OP, any outpatient?
Yep. And then I did 90 days of outpatient as well. D Marble, such a gangster in the industry. I love him, and great equine therapist. But I remember he was the outpatient clinician, and you have your PAWS, your post-acute withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
you know? So I remember day 60-ish, about 2 weeks into IOP, I was still just not feeling the best, you know, and wanting to do more because I expected so much for myself. And so I was kind of down on myself that day. And he's like, stop it, damn it. You stay sober today. Yeah, that's good enough, you know?
Yes.
And
Love it.
grounded me a bit because I think the only thing I did that day was laundry. And I was like, God, laundry was just hard, you know? And so that's where it started, is like doing your own laundry just out of treatment was like, good job, you know? And it just grows. And so that's the cool thing about recovery, is as long as you give your body the building blocks of nutrition to heal and repair, it can. And you can start to build more and more ability, capability to do more and more and more. And that's what I've done. And your body is amazing at adapting.
Well, and I'm sure he got to know you pretty well. And I've gotten to know you pretty well over the last few months. And if he saw the version of you that I see sometimes, I'm sure he realized that you're pretty hard on yourself, man. Like, you're perfectionism, you know,
Yeah.
It's a thing. And so it's cool that he kind of like helped you snap out of that. Like, dude, just stop trying to, you know what I mean, reach for the universe. Just do your laundry and be cool that you stayed sober and did your laundry, you know?
Self-love and self-respect. I'll tell another little tangent. It's kind of in the direction we're going.
Yeah, let's get it.
Keep me back if I need to, but it relates to when I was teaching groups after starting the treatment center, which again, we'll back up and go back to it. But I realized that I was teaching these balance groups, how to balance your life and schedule and make smart goals and all these things that I really thought were really helpful for people, because it was helpful for me, and I believed it was, and it is. But I realized about a year into teaching those groups, it's like, why would someone give a shit about all of this if they don't even care about themselves? They don't love themselves. Why would they put that much effort into themselves?
Very true.
And so that was a huge thing that I had to learn about myself. And I remember I owed a guy money. Through my addiction, he helped me fix my axle on my trailer during my landscaping career. Career, that was, seems like it was 15
Hustle,
years.
career.
The hustle. And I didn't pay him. And it stuck with me for that next 5 years. And then just outside of treatment, it still was one of those things that was like, hold me back from loving myself. And I'll never forget, it was during Christmas time. It was $100. I went and took a $100 bill over to his house back where I used to live, by the rec center in Bountiful, and knocked on the door, and he answers. I'm like, hey, do you remember me? He's like, yeah, I remember you. He's super nice. He wasn't like bugged or anything. He was just a super nice guy. And I was just like, hey, you know, you helped me fix my axle and I never paid you for that. I'm really sorry. And he's just like, his jaw just like drops. He's just like, you didn't have to do that. I'm like, yes, I did. You
That's
know?
cool, man.
And that was one of the moments where I just like this weight lifted. And I just knew, like, those are the things that you can do to not feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah, live
and
within
love
your
yourself,
integrity.
you
right?
know? And so I wanted to, and 12 steps do that, for anyone who's wondering, right? Like, that's one of the big parts of why 12 steps work. And there's a lot of other aspects that are really great about it. But, you know, I had my own way to do those things. And so I just thought that was a fun part of my recovery journey as well.
That's cool. And you know, to kind of go off of that idea, I think it is important for people for them to be able to love themselves. They have to realize, like, am I living within my value system? Because if that's incongruent, right? If you're like, you know, let me explain. If my identity, the story I'm telling myself about myself is I'm an honest person, but then I go and I do a bunch of dishonest things.
It's not congruent.
I know, right? And so that's going to drive a wedge between, you know, like the self-love and myself. So I think that's cool, man. I love stories like that.
There's a big part of living on purpose and authentically that allows you to have peace. You know what I mean? And that this last year and a half has been my biggest focus, other than making sure my family's taken care of. It's trying to do my best to be authentic, live on purpose, and find that peace. And that's what it's about for me, you know?
And it doesn't have to be as big as like going and giving somebody $100 or whatever. It can be like, I remember when I first got clean, I had gotten so comfortable with lying that I would tell lies that didn't even matter, not even to like get out of trouble, like
compulsive lying, basically.
Yeah, just basically just for whatever reason, like you know, and it can be as simple as that, as simple as noticing something that you're like, I don't like this about myself. You know, if I believe that I'm an honest person, I don't want to lie anymore. And yeah, that self-love can grow.
Yep. And there's worksheets if people want to find them online for some self-help. There's worksheets that can help you identify your truths and like do some self-reflecting. If you're struggling with an idea or a day, like analyze that thought. Is it true? Is it 100% true? What makes it true? And really dig deep into a lot of your thoughts, because your thoughts often are not actually factual, true thoughts. They're assumptions, they're made up, they're not true, they're emotional driven, and so
you're getting into some dialectical behavioral therapy work here, buddy.
We're both clinicians.
So it's good though, dude. It's spot on. Like, well said. Let me get you back to your story. You shared that you went, was it to the U? So you complete treatment, right?
Yep.
And you had this awakening while in treatment, like, hey, I want to look into this. I want to optimize this. I want to do good at this. So naturally, a path that you take is to become a counselor. Talk to me about that. What did that look like? And how soon was that from like being released from treatment?
Yeah, that was I remember I enrolled within a month out of treatment, and it was probably enrolled in the U within 90 days. And I wanted to just create the best program I could. My senior project at the U was based around researching multiple treatment programs, looking at their reviews and what made them better, what did patients appreciate about them the most, and start really focusing on those areas that matter the most to them and what mattered the most to me, and really building that program. And I remember one of my favorite things was to hear somebody mention, 2 years after starting Diamond Tree, they're like, I remember watching you draw diamonds and diamond trees on your notes in front of us at school, like it was just something that I just wanted, and I created, and I wanted to help other people so bad. And that truly is the essence of me. I found that over the last year and a half, like people need to find out what their essence is. And if you don't know how to do that, I don't know, ask AI. Probably can help you figure it out. But there's an essence that we're all born with that if you can really tap into that, it really keeps you in line with, again, that peaceful, authentic feeling. All right, bring us back. Story time.
Talk to me about like early recovery. What did that look like for you? So you shared pretty quick getting out of residential, you enrolled to become a substance abuse counselor. Where are you living? Are you attending any fellowship groups? In other words, what did life really look like in that baby recovery stage? And kind of second question to follow up with that, how did you continue the progress that you'd made?
So it was a combination of things, obviously having a new path, a new purpose, passion. I went back to running my landscaping business. I lived at my parents' home for a few months before I get back on my feet. And then I was lucky enough to get a job at Integrated Wellness and some great mentors and doctors that work there. Still friends with them to this day. And just watching their routine, their lifestyle, their healthy habits. That's when I found the meaningful purpose of healthy habits and routines, and how like humans are creatures of habit, and healthy habits, it's like choose your hard. I think I've done that with you before, right? It's like you can either chase a drug or do lots of different things that are hard to try to function and make it through life and cope through life, or you can find healthy coping mechanisms and routines and hobbies that still take effort, going to the gym or waking up at a certain time, meal prepping, all those things take effort and they can be hard. But if you're willing to do it that route, you continue to build yourself for more potential, to do more, to create more, to see more, to experience more, versus the other's hard.
Well, and just to have a higher quality of life.
Yeah. Versus the other hard is just degrading you. You're slowly dying and less capable. And so that's what I realized at that point with those docs. And so that was the thing. All the way to I loved this psychologist I worked with at Cold Creek that literally taught us how to rewire our brain. If we, threw the ball with our left hand more, just do things you don't do as much, right? Change your routine of your showering off, routine, just things like that break your old patterns and create new neural pathways. And that's when I started to learn the brain more. And I read this science book there and I was like, man.
How did you meet these cats? Because it sounds like a big part of what helped you maintain your recovery was being around positive influences.
Yeah. Well, at my work, so at treatment was the psychologist that I met about some of those things that helped rewire the brain and get me into that neuroscience and the chef as well. And then it was the doctors I worked with at Integrated Wellness. And
So that's where you're employed
correct.
at the time.
Correct.
Okay.
For 8 years. And one of the docs was brilliant with blood work and questionnaires, things of that nature about the brain and the metabolics. And I just learned so much about nutrition, brain, the whole nervous system. You know, when you're working with chiros and MDs and a lot of different people, you can really figure out some of the root causes. Functional medicine was a big part of that, you know, about 4 years of that time studying that, trying to get to the root causes of things. And that's when I started to learn more about the genetic components, the neurotransmitters of the brain, the microbiome of the gut, and how all that's made in the brain. And that was like, okay, I need to go do this for people in the addiction recovery space because no one does that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's when I really got motivated, and I was driving by the old Cold Creek place. That's about a year out of finishing my program at the U, being a counselor and trying to start my own private practice. I was in the process of doing that. I did that for about 6 months. And so 6 months into doing that, I see the Cold Creek place was up for sale. I was like, well, you know, I wanted to do this. Why not the old place I went to?
Man.
You know, I know where all the, you know, blind spots are in the cameras, you know, whatever. And so just called my real estate partner and a family friend, cousin that I thought was really gifted in some of the areas that I'm weak, you know, could balance me out a little bit as a partner.
Okay.
And we went and did it. We went and started Diamond Tree and put a team together, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Helped a lot of people and created something very different that was healing people at an accelerated rate. And it really was beautiful. Anyone that was there as a patient or a staff member could, I hope, could attest to what I'm saying. I'm not just, you know, saying it, but I got approached to sell and did eventually, but I want to.
What when you say, you know, we did something different, we made something kind of unique and beautiful, you know the industry, like what was that much different about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, even to this day, most programs are stuck in a 1930 model, which is primarily group therapy, talk therapy, and medication.
Mm-hmm. The Minnesota model.
Yep. And so I wanted something more active. I love Fit to Recover. I remember meeting with Ian early on. I did my preceptorship for my counseling degree at Youth County Services. And so we would go there. Yeah. And so him and I, you know, became very close early on in you know, his game. And
real quick, for people that don't know what Fit to Recover is, that are listening to this maybe out of the state of Utah, it's basically like a community of people that get together, they work out, and then they do like some fellowshipping. I don't know if they necessarily have like literature and stuff, but it's basically like a community of people that get together and work out and support each other in recovery. And
yeah, Ian created the most, in my opinion, safe place to go be authentic, be yourself, and get some neurotransmitters naturally, some natural feel-good chemicals by exercising and being healthy. And it was a beautiful thing. And so for me,
is it kind of like CrossFit? I've never been there or seen it. So it's not just like a gym that's open up, right?
But it's, you know, you're doing burpees and you're doing some air squats, just, you know.
But everybody's doing it together. It's not just like an open gym format.
Yeah, it's like an energy where you build momentum and energy together. Okay. And there's no, it's like a judgment-free zone like you won't feel anywhere. It's a beautiful thing, and super proud of him and super proud of those that have carried it on since he's left, you know. But
sorry to interrupt. Just you chat with Ian, go from there.
Yeah, so at that point I realized that there's a fitness component. There's a connection, you know, Johan Hari, right?
Oh, yeah.
A big part of, you know, connections, the opposite of addiction type of thing. I knew that was a huge component. If I nerd out into that a little deeper for a second, I believe when you connect with someone, you release oxytocin, which is a scientific fact. And I think oxytocin is that neurochemical that can kind of suffice a lot of the deficient areas, whether it's GABA, serotonin, dopamine. It can give you that feel-good warmth that your brain is looking for.
Yeah.
And you're deficient. So that's why it's such a huge component of recovery for a lot of people. But again, if you can get the nutritional building blocks, amino acids of these neurotransmitters in your nutrition, you can have the fitness component, you can have connection, and you have healthy routines and habits and some meaningful purpose in your life, like service and stuff. That's what the Balance of the Diamond had, all those components. I was seeing people just excel and do really good.
So a big thing that set you guys apart was the fitness, right? You're getting them out, getting them a little bit more active. I've also heard you say that you used food as medicine, right? And so I know like you weren't just,
anti-inflammatory,
you weren't
knocking
just
out
passing out
sugar.
cereal and
Yep, we
milk,
didn't have
right?
sugar, dairy, gluten, super healthy diet. Basically, our nutrition was like, nutritionist said, if it's not healing you, it's hurting you.
Okay.
Which is true. It's a little extreme. We were extreme.
love
We
it.
were really focused on accelerated healing. And you add in my proprietary blend of amino acids and vitamin D and B, all the things that, and omega 3, all the things that your body needs that we usually don't get enough of.
Yeah.
Add those things in, and
so you had a
just good.
regimen of supplements that the clients would take every day, as well as like prescription medication that they would be taking?
Yeah,
or?
we didn't like med shame anybody. So when they were needed, but we did try to motivate and educate how to get off of certain ones that we didn't feel were completely necessary.
Yeah.
You know, and so the more we could get someone free from that dependency, the better. But there's a time and a place, you know, for the medications as well. But it was a beautiful thing to help people get off of the Suboxones and get off of some of the medications and the gabapentins and the things that some people think they're supposed to be on the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You know, and I loved helping people, and they'd be like, man, my doctor told me I could never get off of this. And I love being able to be free from that, because you can't travel. You can't do a lot of fun things without just that anchor, you know,
Totally.
weighing you down. Because if you forget that, you're miserable.
Well, and a lot of times it's trading one thing for another, right? Like I don't want to knock, you know, medications, and for sure when you're getting somebody clean and back healthy again, it's probably more important for them to stay abstinent than what I'm getting at is, for me, like I was on 2 or 3 different SSRIs in treatment and after treatment, and I ballooned up to like 280 pounds, right? Because part of the side effects of SSRIs is weight gain. And so then later, kind of through my recovery process, I had to work on getting off the SSRIs and, you know, all the stuff you're talking about now, proper nutrition, working out. And so it sounds like you were just kind of doing that first step, or like a, you know, the foundation of their recovery, instead of having to, you know, have them do it later.
Yeah. And I loved teaching classes, and I'd always have the disclaimer of like, consult your physician before getting off of any of your medications. Right.
Yeah.
But like, even some of the nurses and doctors I talked to about this, it's like, all right, we know how an SSRI works, right? And I explain it on the whiteboard, and it, you know, inhibits this from going here, and it's, you know, the serotonin reuptake things, and right, putting serotonin into the synaptic cleft, and, you know, whatever, all that nerdy stuff that I don't want to get too far into. But I'm like, okay, so it has a storage of serotonin here your body creates, and it releases into the synapse. And then the medication helps it stay there. But what if you don't have any built or created because you don't have the nutrition building blocks to create it? Is that SSRI even going to work? And so that was like a light bulb come on with so many people. It's like, regardless whether you're using that medication or not, like, you need the healthy nutrition part.
Right.
And then I would argue, if you have the healthy nutrition and the catalyst, the exercise, whatever, to release it naturally, do you need the SSRI then? Consult your physician.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
I loved that part of it. And we do a lot of those classes of, you know, what was your drug of choice? What did it do for you? And then what healthy alternatives are there?
Yes.
And we talk about how to do that and what releases the same type of chemicals by that activity or that nutrition.
Beautiful.
It's really fun.
I just love the fact that you took a look at what everybody else was doing and you were like, I want to try something different. Because you're right, for a long time, a lot of treatment centers are doing stuff that's ancient. It's old. It's, you know, for a long time. Now, that's twofold, right? One part of that is because there's been some success around doing it. The other part is just because other people haven't come up with a different model. So trying a different model, I love it, man. So that's a big part of your story, and I'm glad that we took time to talk about that. You mentioned that eventually you sold it. So now you're kind of in recovery, and this has been your path as of recent. Yeah.
No, I'm in and out of recovery. I'll say this every time, because, you know, my definition of recovery is I'm in a state of healing, right? And when I'm not sleeping, I'm overworking, I'm not eating well, those types of things, I get out of recovery. I'm not in a state of healing. So yes, I'm in and out of it, but yes, sobriety is different than recovery. But I love my life. I am more often in a state of recovery than I've ever been. And I'm certainly off all of the hard drugs and stuff that was keeping me in a state of dying slowly, if that makes sense. And I love it. I'm so grateful for my
So
lifestyle.
let's talk about that. How do you maintain as you know, because everybody can define recovery differently.
Mhm.
I've totally, in fact, a lot of episodes I've started off by asking people, what does recovery mean to you? How do you maintain, like, what are some of the core things that you do to maintain, I'm going to use air quotes, your recovery process?
Yeah. So routines like every morning, in the shower, doing certain stretches and movements and exercise to get my brain going, get my body feeling good, and making sure I feel confident and healthy in my body. And getting the blood flowing and things of that nature has been a key part. Having meaningful purpose, so having a family, having a child, things like that, that meaningful purpose is huge. Meaningful purpose with serving and serving others, and having a treatment program, a nonprofit, things like that that keep me engaged in a bigger purpose than myself, a higher purpose, whether it's a higher power or some spiritual calling that you're giving to, you're serving into. Critical. The right nutrition, I have my days, my weekends, whatever, that I eat junk food or whatever, and I'll feel it because I'm mindful. I'm a mindful eater. And so I'll feel more pain and aches and lethargia, and I don't want to exercise. I don't want to do my routines. And I'm out of that so quickly because I just dislike that feeling so much of not feeling like I'm capable.
Yeah. The inflammation and just kind of being heavy. And
yeah. And so that's been crucial, to be a mindful eater and make sure I'm getting the fruits and vegetables on a consistent basis, and watching the junk that I put into my body has been a staple in staying in a state of recovery and health. Yeah, those are some of the staples of
I think,
sustaining it.
correct me if I'm wrong, but another part that I see in your process is staying around like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
Like we get out and we go golfing. I'm sure I'm not the only one that you spend time with that, again, they had like-minded individuals, people that are trying to progress in their life by staying away from things that are going to kill them. If that's kind of how you define your recovery, by working on professional goals, family stuff,
Yeah, meaningful purpose and things like that.
community.
Yeah, you're the average sum of the top 5 people you hang out with, right? And so definitely surrounding yourself with like-minded, healthy individuals, that we're talking about goals and future potential and positive things and gratitude much more than people and problems and the what ifs and the worries and the assumes and the drama and the man, if I'm around that too much, I can't. I really just start to hide away and find my peace in the mountains or something. But
And I will say that's one of the things that I really enjoy, because I'm careful about who I spend my time with. I really am. And one of the things, Jordan, that I really enjoy about being around you is it's like 99% ideas and upcoming events and things you're excited about. It's very little like, oh, did you hear this, or this is going on with this, or for the most part, it's you're looking out the windshield, not in the mirror, or making it about the passengers in the vehicle.
yeah, for sure. And that's what I love to do. And I love people that want to talk about how can we affect the world in a positive way? How can I help people? How can I help more people? Things like that. And that's why my partners that I've gathered over the years for the organization we've created is, even if we have to invest money or ask somebody to invest some money, it's like, is this about the money or is it about helping people? Because if your core is about helping people, we're a good fit. I'll take your money.
And the money will come if you're passionate.
And the money will come if you do the right things for the right reasons and you're helping people and focusing on that. And I've loved that. Our partners are all about helping people and trusting me and my vision to help more people. And that's huge because money is out there, but some money has some really bad energy attached to it. And I've found that let's find the right energetic money, if that makes sense. It's kind of a hard concept, but it's true to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the money and the professional side of things. You mentioned that you sold Diamond Tree. So let's continue your story and kind of what happened with that and what you got going on today and maybe what some future holds.
Yeah, such a beautiful thing when we were running that program and created a full continuum in less than a year. So created a Detox, the residential, PHP, IOP, sober living. And our Detox just happened to be a separate entity from my previous counseling center, just changed the purpose, which is Diamond Detox. And when I was approached to sell it, it was hard. It was my baby. I'd worked so hard, but through COVID, that 2 years was so exhausting to keep staff in place, to keep up with regulations, the financial hits we took all over the place. Like it is incredible that we survived that. to get, CARF and get the highest rating in CARF and get insurance contracts and all that through it all. And
It's
basically
complex,
it's
man.
crazy. You go into, I remember I had $1.5 million on my shoulders, weighing me down, and I didn't know if I could, keep it going. And so that was really heavy, really hard. And so when it came to selling it, I was like, all right, well, I get to keep what I created helping people. I get to step back and focus on the detox that I think is the most underserved gap in care right now in the industry.
Okay.
And I get to step back and breathe a little bit, take a breather, and see what I can do better. And that's what I did. And I'm super grateful for that. And now Diamond Detox, my goal was to try to create the best detox in the state. I'm not going to say whether it is or not. I've heard, people say pretty highly of it the last year. We're really proud of what we're doing.
Can I say it for you? Diamond Detox is the best detox in the state.
I appreciate that. And we're friends, so you're a little biased, but I think we do pretty good work. And now it's to the point where it's like, okay, what more can we do? How can we expand in other areas and fill other gaps, like the housing piece? Because a big part of relapse is they don't have a safe, supportive place to recover in. And if you go back to a toxic environment, it's no different than taking a plant out of an unhealthy soil and planting it somewhere else and then putting it back in that soil. It's like, no, it's not going to do well, right?
It's crazy to say that. Like yesterday, I had a memory pop up on Facebook, and it was literally a billboard that read, you cannot heal in an environment that you got sick. And it's so true.
Yep.
Too many times people will do a program or, whatever their process looks like, but then they go right back to the environment that they came in, whether it's the same family or the same neighborhood or the same job. And before they know it,
they're right back where they started.
They're right back sick again.
Yep. And that's what's hard right now. That's where my heart really wants to do more, because the detox, you find those people that just do detox and go back to and I'm just like, man, even if you did 30 days of res, you're still only a 7% success rate. If you just do detox, you're like 3, you know what I mean? So like, let's try to do a little bit more support and do more. And so I really want to get to the supportive housing piece and some medication assisted treatment, because people that don't have the medical management part when they're in recovery and they don't have the clinical support options for when they're struggling, and the safe housing. That's what I want. I want the detox on the front end to do that the best way I can and know how, change the industry a little bit there, to not have hospitals do it, but have specialty detox places, and then get them into some housing supports with some clinical supports. As much as I hate that insurance is not wanting to do residential, it's probably going to take a 5 to 10 year turn that way, unfortunately, until we can hopefully show that it's actually really, really needed again, to actually change habits and behaviors and things like that. But till then, I think we can do a lot of good setting up the right supportive housing and things like that. So that's our trajectory. That's what we're trying to do and accomplish, and trying to help as many people as we can along the way, and genuinely love doing that. And I want to get to the point where, because to me, it's not about addiction necessarily anymore. I think I had a special ability to help people because I'd been there, and when they'd come in and I'd interview them, they're like, you get it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I know how hard that is.
Yeah.
And I've been homeless, shooting up on the streets, and I've been to those lowest of lows. So I definitely get it. And I've been there and gotten out, and I think I can show you some ways to get out. But I want to do more to heal people, and find the root causes of why they're not healing, because some people just can't heal right. And whether it's emotional, psychological, physical, a lot of people, they've got a short leg. Let's take an x-ray and see what's going on. And like that lower back pain, that's a son of a bitch. You got to take some pain meds, you get addicted, and now you're here. Let's fix that root cause. So there's so many different causes, but let's find that root cause. Let's treat that. Let's get you well. And I loved Dr. Amy that came on, because she was so focused on when people get out of treatment, a lot of them just aren't super happy still. They don't feel a lot of energy and well-being. And if you don't feel energy naturally and feelings of well-being and recovery, you're not going to last super long, I don't think, because like, what's the point of just feeling a little bit miserable but sober? The whole white knuckle in it. Let's get people passionate again. Let's get people engaged in meaningful purpose.
Part of that's the anhedonia, right? Like part of that is just the chemistry of the brain.
The first 90 days.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm with you. Like, yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think to some point you were lucky, as you've shared, that you found kind of some passion and some purpose while you were in treatment to be able to give you a pathway or, you know, some goals to work towards becoming a
100%.
counselor. And then it was like, you know, then you took a look and you're like, I want to do private practice. And then, you know, the treatment center being up for sale. And so you did that and, you know, had the experience of doing that for a number of years. And now you're like, you know, I think the detox is the underserved portion of this whole process. And so now you're really refining and doing a good job with, you know, private detoxes. And I think you're spot on with the housing piece. That is a big piece. It's also a piece that not a lot of people touch because there isn't a ton of money in it, you know, at least in the short run. You know, Mike Keenan's a good friend of both of ours, and he always, you know, laughs and says, you know, maybe in the short run, you're not going to become a millionaire, but you're helping people like have permanent change and you're working towards owning real estate. And so part of it is a real estate thing. But unfortunately, a lot of people, I think, are short-sighted and don't see that.
Yeah. A lot of the investors and people that are really not in it to help people, they're in it for the money.
Yeah.
First of all, it's probably the wrong industry for that.
Definitely.
But yeah, Mike and I are very close and we stay connected and trying to help each other find best practices and areas of the industry we can improve on. And we've got some things.
Oh, I'm sure the two
We've got
of you
some
together.
things going on that we want to do for sure in the next few years that could be game changers. So
nice. I'm going to ask you the miracle question.
Okay.
What's the modern day miracle that has come from that path of changing your life? In other words, as you look back on your story, what are some things that stick out to you that you were like, in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have imagined being or experiencing?
I mean, for sure, my son, you know, was able to get, you know, marry up to a very beautiful human being and have a beautiful child. And, you know, that is definitely a miracle that came from my recovery, without a doubt. That's first that comes to mind. But a lot of the people that I've been able to meet, the mentors, the mastermind group I'm a part of, just rubbing shoulders with people that are incredible. Like, they have so much money, but this group of people that I'm connected with, they're so people centered and they want to help people and be authentic and all the things that make a beautiful place for all of us to be. And so, yeah, that's another miracle, is just being able to meet amazing people, because when you're in active addiction, you're such a recluse, you know, you're really just doing the bare minimum to survive, maybe functioning at a job here and there to get your drug, but then you're just hiding in your car in your room doing drugs, you know, so you're not able to seize opportunities. You're not able to meet people, to make connections. And people are what it's all about. You've said it before too, right? I mean, people help people, and that's, you know, me. I'm a people helping people at my core. So if you're not able to get out there and connect, that's why AA is so big. Different church groups can be really good to get you socially connected and accountable. But you got to get out there. You got to make connections. You got to be open to try new things. And you don't do that when you're in active addiction.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Last question for you. What would you say to somebody that's out there still struggling? Maybe not even like, because like you've said, you know, there's a lot of things to heal from. So it could be somebody out there in active addiction. It could be somebody out there that's still just struggling. What message do you got for them?
You know, where there's a will, there's a way. And even if your will is so small, because here's a nerdy tangent, so
Let's
stay
get it.
with me. You know, when people talk about the willpower part of it, right? You know, people don't have the willpower to stop and things like that. It often is people that are the most driven individuals that get addicted. It's a neuroscience thing that dopamine, it's a motivating neurotransmitter. When your dopamine gets hijacked and you're someone with a lot of dopamine receptors, you're driven so hard towards that drug more than the average person. So when people say you don't have enough willpower, it's like, I have a ton of willpower.
Right.
It's just going the wrong direction. So if you can redirect that at all, you can get someone to help find some motivation with you and support you, you can do it. And we just got to get you off those drugs for 7 days to get you out of the discomfort. And we can help support you through that discomfort and make it very tolerable. And with compassion and support, we'll feed you, we'll care for you. Anything that you need, we'll be your drug dealer basically until you get to the point where we can taper you off safely. I joke about it, but it's true. Like we really can with medication use a few things here or there to take the edge off, make it possible and doable. And then every day after that 7th day just gets better and better and better. And you can do it with our help, with other people's support and help. You can totally do it if you want it. And you don't have to have a lot of willpower towards it. Just a little, just a willingness.
1%.
I'm literally like, if you have 10% willingness to show up.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And give it a try. Like that's often what it takes.
Yeah.
So to get you on the 51. Because
I just meant like the majority of yourself has the majority of yourself has to at least be willing to try.
It's the whole motivation for change. Big comment that I say to people, and I remember for me it was for sure the case. If the pain of stopping is not as much as the pain of using, like it's got to be pretty uncomfortable while you're using. And that's why family members can't make it comfortable. You can't give them a safe place to do it. You can't give them the money to do it. You can't give them food to do it. All those things, they got to be really hungry, miserable, pain. And if they feel that, then they're willing to go through some discomfort to get to the other side. But if it's comfortable or using, tough.
They're anchored down.
Tough.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man.
Dude, I love you. This is awesome. You've done a great job, and it's been a roller coaster, and I'm super proud of you, and I'm excited to see what you do. And, I'm here.